First one is the Transport Appeal Tribunal Amendment Bill. The second one is the Marine Oil Pollution Preparedness Response and Cooperation Bill. We welcome officials from the department. I'm assuming, subject to correction, that DDG Mukonyama is leading the delegation. He will correct me if I got it wrong. Welcome, colleagues, those who are joining us virtually, as this is a hybrid session, to members of the media and everyone else who's taken interest in our work. You are welcome. And we should be able to flow smoothly. Before I welcome or invite the department to introduce themselves and the delegation, I would like to check with the Secretariat if we do have a quorum to continue with the meeting.
Acting Chair, there are enough members to start the meeting.
Thank you very much. Quorum has been confirmed and I've welcomed everybody. Once more, welcome to the officials of the department. Can we have any apologies from the Secretariat before I hand over to the leader of delegation on the department, just to introduce who is here, and then we'll take it from there.
Acting Chair, there are apologies from the Minister, and from the Deputy Minister, from the department side, and from the committee it is Ms. Kumalo, Ms. Noluchungo, and Mr. May.
All right, thank you. I saw a hand, Honorable Mabena. You press right.
We've been virtual. Yeah, there's also an appeal from Honorable Sikor.
Thank you very much. Those apologies are noted. Department, can you introduce yourselves? Let's know who's leading the delegation and who's who. We'll take it from there.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. Good morning to yourselves and good morning to the honorable members of the committee. My name is Matabata Mukonyama. I will lead the delegation on behalf of the Acting Director General, who's held up in Pretoria. With me, colleagues from both the public transport branch as well as the maritime branch and our legal services unit. On my right is Mr. Ntuli, who will do the presentation on the second part of the agenda, which is the MAPOL, the Marine Pollution Bill. And then on my immediate left, I was Advocate Mateus, will be leading the TAT Transport Appeals Tribunal Amendment presentation. Next to him is Mr. Sekudu, the Chief Director in the Public Transport Regulations. And I have colleagues from the Legal Services as well as the Office of the Director General, Chairperson. That's us.
Thank you very much, colleagues. You are welcome once more. Others we have only seen on screens in pajamas and all the kind of funny stuff. At least it's good to see that we were not talking to robots. You are welcome. And I'm sure you were also happy to, some of you, just to leave Pretoria, you know, and get some fresh air from Cape Town.
Honorable Chairperson, you are very right. We also saw members, some of the members that we never met in person on the platform. But what is funny about me, I always wore a tie to respect the decorum. Last night when I arrived, I didn't have a shirt and a tie. I only had the suit, so I had to improvise with the morning. My apologies.
It's understandable. You couldn't run quickly to your bedroom to get to the wardrobe, but you are welcome, colleagues. Well, let's go straight into it. On the Transport Tribunal Amendment Bill, we did receive some responses, but the responses or the people who wrote and shown interest were not willing to come and make their physical presentations, which is they're entitled to. So what we want the department therefore to do is to take us through, having seen the responses, to take us through your responses, which normally we would have done. You would have listened to the submissions orally, you would have taken notes, you would have gone home, and you would have then on another date come back and gave us your response to both oral and written submissions. In this instance, we only have written submissions, and this opportunity is for the department to take the committee through your response to those written submissions. The committee will engage yourselves on your responses, and thereafter the committee will find a time to deliberate on the Transport Appeal Tribunal Amendment Bill, and then take it from there. On the marine oil pollution preparedness, obviously, it is coming to us for the first time. Our approach there is that the department will take us through the purpose, the objects of the bill, and tell us what you seek to achieve. Members will then engage with yourselves, and then at the end, we will determine the desirability or not of the particular bill. So that is how we are going to continue. And those who have never faced members directly, please feel free. These ones do not bite, I promise you. And should the questions be a bit straightforward, they are not personal. They are just trying to get as much information. So feel free, express yourself, be yourselves. Don't try and think this is something totally different. I don't want us to take that assumption. So on the Transport Appeal Tribunal Amendment Bill, over to you, Mr. Mukonyama, and your team, you will direct it as such.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson and Honorable members. We had the Transport Appeals Tribunal Act, the principal act was promulgated and enacted in 1998. This is the first amendment after having implemented it for quite a number of years. What then is significant about the amendments is to try and refine certain definitions, bring it in line with developments that have since happened when the bill was, when the act was being implemented. But also key, Chair, is the fact that the TAT itself as a tribunal dealing with appeals did not have a mechanism to follow up and monitor on the implementation of its appeals by the regulating entities. And as a result, sometimes they chose not to implement them. The last part, Chair, which you will not find here, which is something that we need to bring to the notice of the committee members, is that with the development of the rail safety bill, we also are bringing appeal. We would want to introduce appeal mechanisms in the rail sector, to deal with adjudication by, among others, RSR, Rail Safety Regulator, and the interim economic regulator, the IREC. But Mr. Advocate Matiris will take us through the responses received. There were not many responses received. I mean, issues raised by the public and interested groups, and then how we respond thereto. Thank you very much. With your permission, Chairperson.
Thank you, Chairperson and honorable members. And thank you, Mr. Mkwanyama, for allowing me to make presentation before this August House. As Mr. Mkwanyama has alluded correctly, we have to, the bill, the TT Act had to be amended to align with the development and also to make the TT Act to be effective. It's adding to TT to follow its processes to the latter. We have received 2 comments from the after the portfolio committee has made publications, and we have Gauteng and also to the Department of Transport, Western Cape, who have responded to those comments. Through you, Chair, I will go through the comments and our responses, but I'll be directed by you if you have got a different view as to the process I'm going to entail. The first slide is talking about on the bill, clause 9, section 16 of the bill. The comment that we received is state tax.
Sorry, so the driver of that vehicle, can they remove the car parked on the side there?
Sorry.
Can't we remove that one on the side there? Just minimize it. Yes, there we go. Thank you. Sorry, Advocate. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. The comment reads thus. Our only substantive comment relates to clause 9 of the amendment bill, which empowers the Director General to designate an officer of the Department of Transport to perform such investigation as the tribunal may require in order to decide on a matter. We recommend that the power of the Director General to so designate the officer of the Department of Transport be subject to the national rules of justice relating to the management of conflict of interest and fair adjudication of dispute, not being undermined by the involvement of a conflicted officer of the Department of Transport in a particular manner. That was the comment. Now, our response is thus. The department disagrees with the proposal herein due to the following reasons. Number 1, the appointment of the designated officials to perform the work of the tribunal by the Director General is through the Public Service Act. It should be noted that the investigations that are contemplated are those required by the tribunal. That is, the TAT will still decide on whether investigations are required or not. Furthermore, the investigations and research are moreover to place the tribunal in line with the developments in the public transport sector or industry. Again, number 2, the tribunal executes its mandate without fear, favor, or prejudice as provided by Section 2 of the Act. No amount of interference is tolerated. Number 3, therefore, no conflict of interest might arise as tribunal officials provide supporting role and play no part in the adjudication process. That is the view that the supporting staff is supporting the tribunal in making it to perform its duty without fear, favor, or prejudice, and without any interference by the department. But they are helping tools, helping support to assist the tribunal to arrive at an informed decision. Second comment, we therefore recommend that second comment now from the comment. We therefore recommended that clause 9 be couched thus. The Director General must, after consultation with the tribunal, subject to national rules of justice, designate such officials in the Department of Transport as may be necessary to perform the administrative and secretarial work of the tribunal and to perform any investigations required by the tribunal that are necessary for and prior to taking decision. That is their recommendation to what they have said previously, of which you have responded. But now, go down. Yeah. Now, agreed to be changed to the terms that are necessary for prior taking this decision, or the department will request it. But now we are on comment number 2, Chair. That response is responding to comment number 2. Next slide. Why don't get comment number 2? Clause 9 actually to be changed. It's
Relax. Relax.
Yes. Thank you, Chair. And prior to on this one, on the second comment, Chair, our response is thus: agreed to what the committee is saying. Agreed, it will be changed to by the tribunal that are necessary for and prior to taking its decision. The department will request the parliamentary law advisor to make change. On that one, the department is agreeing with the comment that it will be taken as such. Thank you. Next slide. Clause 6, section 12. We have noted the comment. We have noted that in the last line under clause 6, it will be more semantically correct to substitute the word assuring with the word ensuring. We therefore recommend accordingly. The departmental response is thus: agreed, it will be changed to ensuring. The department will request the parliamentary law advisor to make the necessary change. Thank you, Chair. Next slide. Now, those are the 2 comments from the Gauteng authority that we have attended to received. Now we are coming to the Western Cape Minister of Transport.
Before you go there, Advocate, honorable members, do you want to wait till the end, or would you rather ask here? Are you fine? We deal with all of them. All right. Thanks. Continue, Advocate. These are my bosses, so I must make sure they are happy. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Now, the comment on this one is reading thus: the number of the sub-clauses in clause 1 is incorrect. Sub-clauses G to M flow incorrectly from sub-clause A. Renumber sub-clauses G to M as sub-clauses B to H. Then we responded thus: agreed, sub-clause A would be followed by Roman figures 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Agreed, sub-clause G to M to be changed to B to H respectively. Then the department will request the parliamentary advisor to make the necessary changes. We agreed on that comment. It will be attended fully as it's suggested. Thank you, Chair. And go to clause 2A, section 4. The comment reads as follows: the tribunal consists of not more than 9, but not less than 5 members appointed by the minister. Hold it. After consultation with every member of the executive council in every province responsible for road matters. Can we go down? I think it. Then the comments still continue on the next slide. The effect of the proposal in clause 2A of the bill remove the obligation of the minister, that's the comment is saying, to consult the MECs of each province. Will be to remove a critical layer of oversight by provincial stakeholders in the appointment processes. That's what the comment is saying. This is not in line with the principles of oversight, transparency, and cooperative government protected under the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa. That's what the comment is saying. The following wording, it went further. The following wording of clause 2A is proposed. Thus, 1A, the tribunal consists of not more than 9, but not less than 5 members appointed by the minister after consultation with every member of the executive council in every province responsible for road transport matters. That's A. B, the minister may require members of the executive councils referred to in paragraph A to provide input on the appointment of the members of tribunal within a specified time, failing which the member of the executive council will be deemed not to have any input. Or, hold on, the tribunal consists of not more than 5 members appointed by the minister after consultation with the portfolio committee responsible for transport matters. That is the comment. That they made a comment and they made proposals. Now let us go to the departmental response. The departmental response goes as follows. The department disagrees with the proposals herein and maintains its view of removing the consultation of the executive council in every province due to the following reasons. 1, it actually makes sense for the appointment of the tribunal members not to include consultation of the MECs because MECs are responsible for the appointment of members of the provincial regulatory entities, while the municipalities appoint members of the municipal regulatory entities respectively. Separation of power is thus maintained. 2, therefore, exclusion of the part dealing with the consultation of the MECs will not only ensure independence of these structures, but will also instill confidence to the public as the tribunal is within the mandate of the national government. Number 3, further, the establishment of the NPTR by the minister does not require consultation with the MECs of each province as provided for in section 20 of the National Land Transport Act number 5/2009 accordingly. Number 4, furthermore, during the nomination process in terms of section 3A(b) and C of the Act, Treaty Act, the names of the nominees are gazetted for public comments before being considered by the minister. Simultaneously, the said gazette is forwarded specifically to the offices of the HODs and MECs responsible for road transport matters for their attention and consideration in order to make comments if any. Lastly, the process also complements transparency. This process also complements transparency and cooperative governance as protected under the Constitution. That is the response of the department in informing the MECs when the minister is in the process of appointing members of the tribunal. That's how the department chair responded in that comment. Clause 3, section of the Act 7, comments. It is suggested that the word consecutive be inserted in clause 3 as follows. Despite subsection 3, the minister may, upon expiry of the term of office of a member of the tribunal, extend the term of office of that member for a period not exceeding 12 consecutive months. Now, now the response, the response by the department chair. The response by the department is thus agreed consecutive months to be inserted. The department will request the parliamentary law advisor to make the necessary change. Thank you. Next. Clause 4, section 9, comments. It is suggested that section 9A of the Act be retained. That's a comment. It is further suggested that clause 4 be amended by the insertion of a subsection 4 as follows. The Director General, in consultation with the chairperson of the tribunal, must determine the number of sittings of the tribunal for the next financial year, the estimated number of hours per sitting, and the estimated preparation time for the sitting. Then the departmental response. The department disagrees with the proposal herein due to the following reasons. 1, the administration of the tribunal is through the Director General as provided for in section 16A of the TT Act. 2, the tribunal has operational budget through the department, and it makes financial sense for the Director General to make financial decisions as the accounting officer of the department. 3, the tribunal is not amongst the entities mentioned in the schedules under the Public Finance Management Act, number 1 of 2000, as it is housed or located within the department, and it goes with the departmental budgets. 4, tribunal secretariat receives the noted appeals on behalf of tribunal for processing. Members, they come as per invitation to the tribunal office at the department to work through the secretariat. 5, tribunal members are appointed on a part-time basis and preside on the lodged appeals when invited by the secretariat through working closely with the office of the chairperson or delegated member. Tribunal don't have their specific office where they operated themselves. They operate within the department, supported on section 16 by the officials of the department. The secretariat works closely with the chairperson or delegated member on the work of the tribunal. Thank you, Chair. Clause number 9, section 16, comment. It is strongly suggested that the requirement to consult the tribunal be retained. So it is strongly suggested that the requirement to consult the tribunal be retained. Now, the response is as follows. The department disagrees with the proposal herein due to the following. The appointment of the designated officials to perform the work of the tribunal by the Director General is through the Public Service Act. It should be noted that the investigations that are contemplated are those required by the tribunal. That is, the TT will still decide on whether investigations are required or not. Furthermore, the investigation and research are moreover to place the tribunal in line with the developments in the public transport sector. Again, the tribunal execute its mandate without fear, favor, or prejudice as provided by in section 2 of the Act. No amount of interference is tolerated. Therefore, no conflict of interest might arise as tribunal officials provide supporting role and played no part in the application process. The same comment is aligned with the first comment of the Gauteng authority, because that's why you see the response similar to that one. It's the same comment, and then the response should be the same. Yes. Therefore, no conflict of interest might arise as tribunal officials provide supporting role and played no part in the officials of the tribunal are officials of the tribunal. They are not members of the tribunal. They interfere none with regard to how the tribunal must adjudicate, but they help the tribunal with information in order for the tribunal to arrive at an informed decision. That is the purpose of section 16. Next. Yeah, finish, yeah. Yeah, the comments, Chairperson, are finished the two comments that we received. We have received two comments, we have thus responded to them accordingly. But now our slides are going to the second slide, where now we have the emerging situation of which Mr. Mkwanyama, our DDG, alluded to, the rail safety bill that is before this August House. And then the section 56, which takes the TAT, the rail bill to the TAT. Then now we have, because let's go to the next slide, because we have to talk to that because it appears on the rail for the TAT to take it forward when it comes to appeals. The memorandum and on the object of the rail bill provides as follows. So that
let me just get this clear. So what you were saying, Dr. Mkwanyama, is that this has got an impact on the transport appeal bill we have before us. So you want us to consider it as we consider the comments we have received. Am I correct?
It is correct, Honorable Chair. The thing is, like where we agree for changes, this is the one area that we are alerting the committee at this stage. It was not foreseen because the rail safety bill was still not developed, including the rail policy. So this is emerging. The impact is that if it's not considered now, you might not have an appeal mechanism in the rail safety bill once it enters. You will have to go through another amendment.
All right. I think I just wanted that clarity so that as we listen, we are clear. Thanks. Advocate, continue.
Thank you, Chair. This, as Mr. Mkwanyama has just alluded, is the impact of clause section 56 of the rail safety bill on the TT amendment bill. Now, their memorandum is quoted verbatim and is saying thus: Clause 54 to 56 provide for an appeal mechanism against any decision by an employee of the rail safety regulator or made in the name of the rail safety regulator. The first level of appeal is to the CEO in terms of clause 54, then to the board or board appeals committee in terms of clause 55, and ultimately to the Transport Appeal Tribunal in terms of clause 56, established by section 3 of the Transport Appeal Tribunal Act 1998, Act 39 of 1998, which is to be amended by the Transport Appeal Tribunal Amendment Bill B8 2020, which is currently being considered by Parliament. That is our emphasis, Chairperson, the underlined matter, so that as is stated here, that is now the situation that we are in. Now, I think if I can say quickly on that one is that the ultimate intention here, the transport department has got an appeal structure already in existence. Now, if now each and every section will have its own appeal structure, and now we have fragmented appeals within the Department of Transport, while we're still having what you call the Transport Appeal Tribunal, which the intention ultimately so is to have one stop shop of appeals within the department. It will make financially good and to have everything that comes with any appeals within the department to be referred to, and the appeal now is there on public transport. It can also be extended to be there on other modes of transport where need arose. That is why then, Chair, it is at this stage, therefore, that this August committee to consider now, as Mr. Mkwanyama have stated, so that as we go forward, we can be able to house all appeals in one. The next slide, Chair, go to the next slide on the conclusion. the bullet number 3, it talks to that. It number 1, that we request this August House to consider the responses made by the department. Number 2, to consider an emerging matter with regard to clause 56 of the safety bill, and also to process the amendment bill further in accordance with the procedure established in 726. Chair, through you and to the department, we have made a proposal of how we think the incorporation of the rail bill might be or might look to with regard to the TT bill now that is currently before this House. If you want that, we can slide that slide for you, Chair. But if not, then this is the plea that we are putting before this House. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Advocate. I'm sure that need will arise because you think you're the only legal guru here. I've also got my arsenal here. In the name of Ms. Ngema, who is also listening to you attentively, they'll guide as to whether we look at that or not. But I think it will be fair to look at what you're suggesting so that they could consider it. We also got Ms. Kangen, who is right there. Most members and you have seen them only on TV. Now brought them to you for free, just like that. Sorry, it's not Ms. Kangen, Ms. Arnold. Ms. Kangen will entertain the next bill of the marine pollution. So those two, please, Ms. Ngema, Ms. Arnold, Ms. Kangen, you are welcome. And at any time, please feel free to engage. Colleagues, that's the presentation. And I suggest that we engage on the presentation. I wanted to propose, unless you violently are opposed to that we go back to the presentation, we take it as they presented, we say on this one, what are the comments, and we go on. It's not too long. Then we'll be clinical and be able to tackle everything. If anything is missed out of their presentation, you are more than welcome to raise it. Honorable Stolle, you are welcome. Honorable McDonald, you are welcome. I didn't welcome you when we started. So let's start on the first slide, please, on the comments, and then I will take it my own clause by clause way so that I can invite members to give their comments, if any, on each and every one. So that one is from the Gauteng, GMA Gauteng Management, Transport Management Agency, or Gautrain, or Gauteng. Gautrain. Okay, we will not read it again, colleagues, but it is there, it was read, and I want to see if there are any comments on this one. I see Honorable Hunsinger, and you will advise me on those who are virtual. All right, Honorable Hunsinger, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chairperson, and thank you to the delegation firstly for being here, for being present physically. It's great to see everybody again after the break we forcibly had. Thank you for the submission and presenting the submissions to us. The first one basically deals with the whole principle of fair adjudication, but then particular views from the submission on this fair adjudication process of disputes then. And comments are made around a fear of interference, a fear of conflict of interest, and a fear of undermining. And I do acknowledge the department's reaction to that, in that you simply say this will not happen. And it sounds fairy tale-ish, not legalish. What are the principles to make sure that interference, conflict of interest, and undermining, in fact, will not happen, but that, in fact, there are firewalls within the design to give the assurances like we saw is important. Firstly. Secondly, these legal protection mechanisms are not watertight. So what would the remedy be and the action therefore be should it be found that in fact there was discovered some forms of interference, conflict of interest and undermining? Chairperson, I take it that we're dealing with it section by section and that we'll get to the rest later on.
Yes, I wanted to, but knowing you would be covering most things at the same time. So I'm not sure. Hence, I checked with colleagues. If you're fine, we do one by one, or I give you an opportunity to deal with all your comments, and then you could come back, then give them time. Because maybe this one might limit you, or you might forget what you wanted to raise on another one. So if you agree, let me change my earlier decision and say you continue with your comments in totality, then we take each member. Then should there be gaps, you can come back and close those gaps. Is that fine?
Thank you.
So please do continue. After that, it will be Honorable Shabangu on the virtual, and then it will be Honorable Ramadwa, Honorable Ketamabala, and then it will be closed by Honorable Mabena this first round. Please continue, colleague.
Thank you, Chairperson. I would then want to move on to what you presented as section 3, or the third part, where the railway safety regulator was brought in to align to TAC. Within the text portion that was presented, it was mentioned that 3 levels of appeal would be suggested as a framework, if you like, represented by what you suggested, clause 54, 55, and 56. The first level being that of the CEO, is that of Railway Safety Regulator or the Department of Transport. The second level or layer being the board, again of Railway Safety Regulator or DOT. And then lastly, which was clear from the onset, the third level being TAC. What would trigger advancing to the next level or next stage? Since you are given the option, it appears, of 3, why wouldn't one then appeal simultaneously to all 3? What would happen if you get different outcomes at each of these levels? And how would that complexity be dealt with, given that there can only be one determination at the end and not 3 different ones? Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Honsinga. Honorable Shabangu, I hope you can hear us. The chance is yours. Good morning.
Thank you, Chair. Let me also thank the delegation and the submission they have made. My only question is the Department of Gauteng happy with the comments you have made or changes that you have made? If yes, do you have a proof thereof? If not, what do you intend to do? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, colleague. Honorable Ramadwa. After today, you will know.
I now know. Thank you. Ndolivuwa mzula chidulo. Kaba ndithome ngakumedisa abantu bote bari mtanganoni nabane babakha platform. I would also like to join my colleagues who are appreciating the presentation. My first question, Chairperson, is on slide number 1. On the response by the department, they indicated that the appointment of the designated officials to perform the work of the tribunal by the Director General is through the Public Service Act. I would like the department to indicate what the Public Service Act say, because they responded to GMA. What is the Public Service Act saying? My second clarity question is on a response by the department when they are saying the department will request the parliamentary law advisor to make the change. I want to check with them whether they have done that and what was the outcome, because now if they are responding that they are going to do, we understand that, but we want to check if they have done that already. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Ramadua. Honorable Sitole.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson, and thank you to the presenter. Chairperson, first I want to apologize to be late. It's because of transport. My first question, Chairperson, is on
The portfolio committee of transport, and you are not in the time because of transport. Okay, continue.
Oh, njalo. Chairperson, my first one is on clause 612, where they say the department will request the parliamentary law advisors to make the changes. I'm trying to check, have they already submitted to the advisors? And what is their input on that one, if they have already submitted? If they are not, what's the time frame of submitting that? And the other one, Chairperson, is on clause 2, in clause 2.4. One, Chairperson, I have a concern there, Chairperson, because I believe not on centralization of issues. I'm believing on the devolution of power. If they say the appointment of tribunal members, not to include the MECs, it means they are centralizing now. They give powers to the minister. But most of these operations are happening in local government and provinces. So I'm trying to check if they can convince us, why are they not actually including the MECs and the mayors, if that should be. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair.
Thank you very much, colleague. Honorable Mabena.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. And I'm going to be very quick. Clause 2A, with regards to the consultations with the MECs and I see the department's response here. Your argument is that there are PREs which are there and also the MREs, and that the MECs will be responsible for appointing the PREs. But now, my question is here, in the spirit of intergovernmental relations and also the existence of min-max, right? And it has always been a contention that in public service, min-max are there, but they're not effective. They're just there as a structure which is there, but they're not being used in the entirety to make sure that they contribute positively and that they can be used to enhance the public space. What will the department lose by consulting with the MEC? I see the response on here is that it will be gazetted, and then by default it will be sent to the HODs, and therefore they would then thus make comments. But now, having structures such as min-max at that level, at that executive level, where you have the ministers and the MECs and even at local government level, what would the department actually, what is the opportunity cost of you consulting with the MECs? And how do you envisage this consultation? Do you say that as a result of the consultation, therefore, are you now obligated and obliged for you to take whatever the MECs are saying? Because remember, it's consultation. And as the consultation is that I'm affording you an opportunity, or I'm giving you the heads up that this is where we're moving and all that. Yes, I understand that it can be done through a gazette, but in the spirit of at the political level, and using the min-max to their actual, making sure that they're relevant. What is the opportunity cost of the department? What would you lose by just using that and consulting with them? And then if you go now to clause 4, the response of the department here is saying that the DG is the one that will make the decision as and when, as to when they must sit. But then now, is this also in respect of how many perhaps issues that must be resolved that you'll receive, or in terms of the appeals that will be coming through? But I think the comment here was somehow trying to, in terms of maybe, okay, let me put it this way, boards of entities, most of the time they're very ineffective. But when you go and check how many times they've met, because there's a fee that they receive every time that they go in. So there's an incentive for them to meet, not to meet for them to be effective and efficient and do what they're supposed to be doing, but so that the ticket can just run. And you find that in the financial report or in the annual plan, they say that we're going to meet 8 times, but those are the ordinary meetings. But then you find that there are extraordinary meetings, which now are they can run. So now I think, would it be fair for us to say maybe we can put a number into how many meetings we can have in order for us to protect? Because there's one other, I think there was one entity that we saw, I think it was when we were in Devonshire. They said that they were supposed to meet, I think they said 8 times, but then they met 12 times. And then my question was, doesn't this affect the Auditor General report? Because now that means those are the meetings that you did not budget for, and therefore you already met. So therefore that means because you budgeted for 8 meetings and these extraordinary meetings, and they gave a technical response, which I was not really happy with. But I'm trying to see here if isn't it prudent for us to also almost put a limit, but also this will also assist in terms of making sure that the tribunal is also efficient. If you know that we must meet 10 times and we have 20 issues that we need to resolve, won't that assist us in terms of saying that per meeting we're going to make sure that we resolve at least 2 issues, whereas it can now be perpetual where issues can just run there. So I think those were my questions, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mabena. Last but not least, Honorable McDonald.
Thank you, Chairperson. Let me add my voice and thank the acting DG and his team for the presentation. Chairperson, I've only got 2 comments and questions. I'm wary of the separation of powers that the DG, the acting DG, is trying to explain in the bill here. But we've had the situation where we've gone through the bill, it went to the president, it came back because there was a grey zone in the consulting with the other entities of state, the provincial government and municipalities, etc. And we must be very wary that we don't go through the whole process and do this bill just to have it sent back by the president to us, just for a small clause for not consulting of the MECs. So I'm just putting it there we should be wary that we should get a second opinion, a legal opinion, because I've got no problem that we exclude the MECs as long as we pass the muster of the separation of powers. Then, Chairperson, what's not clear to me in this bill, and it's, I read the brief by our researchers, is that the financial implication to the transport industry. How is this bill going to, the implications to government? How much is it going to cost to implement? And if the department can just give us a little bit of insight on how this transport tribunal is going to be funded in the transport sector. And those are my comments and questions. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, colleagues. I think you could hear and that there is a lot of focus around the removal of the MECs in the process. So I think a lot there, almost most colleagues honed in there. So please lead the responses. You'll allocate where you find fit. And thereafter, I will invite by decree Ms. Ngema and Ms. Arnold to give some comments. That's the power of being a chair. You decree that they will comment. Please, Dadem Gonyama, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and thanks for the comments and the responses. Chair, I'll deal with the majority of them, but the colleagues will also assist if they feel I have not covered a lot. Chair, internally within government, we run our processes. During the development, the consultation went through public hearings. This is a parliamentary process. This is your process, Chair. And then we come here to give context to what we have done and put before you and the comments made by the people. Now, this talks to the issue of whether we went back to Gauteng province to hear their response. I'm sure that settles it, because I think if they were here, then we would talk to them in front of yourselves. And then you craft a way forward for all of us. That's the first part. The second part, Chairperson, we would also not have changed the B version, the B bill. That's why we are saying if the committee agrees to what we are proposing or disagrees or even introduce some other wording, then they will be assisted by the parliamentary law advisors to deal with that part. So on the issue of process, I needed to deal with that part. Chair, the TAT is in existence. We are amending it. The TAT is sitting as we speak, because I want to address two issues. The man who was presenting to the honorable members is appointed by the department as a director, providing support to the TT. That's why our cross-reference to the Public Service Act. So it's an official of the department. It's providing secretariat and support, and the gentleman seated next to him, to the TAT. Now, what we are doing, we are saying we are adding to the TAT a monitoring and an investigative level to ensure that there is compliance with the decisions of the TAT. Now, this is this person or people who we say the Director General needs to must identify, whether he identifies from among us or he appoints. It is the additional support structure to the TAT. That is why we are saying that realm will have to happen within the Public Service Act. So that's basically it. Is the admin staff to the TAT. Related to that, Chair, is the issue around whether that would not constitute conflict. Like I said, the treaty is working as we speak now. It is being provided support by the department. That conflict, firstly, has not arisen. That does not mean we cannot foresee it going forward. I don't think that it is just the additional capacities and administration of the existing structure to deal with the follow-up on compliance with the decisions. Like I said, some of the decisions have been ignored and so on. So we really do not necessarily see the conflict, but there are safeguards. This bill does not replace PAJA. All of the things that needs to happen on matters of administrative adjudication or quasi-judicial adjudication will have to subscribe to PAJA. That's the fallback that needs to happen. The issues around procedural fairness or unfairness in terms of common law of alterance will still apply, does still apply. It does not necessarily mean that if we do not refer to it, we ignoring them, or they do not apply in this instance. So that is the other issue that I may add into that. I have indicated that the treaty is working as we speak, and then in its current form as we speak. It is the minister that appoints the members. So when we're changing the numbers to the members, I mean to the number of the committee members, treaty committee members, we do not change the way they are appointed necessarily. And I'm not saying Parliament cannot engage on the way they are appointed, but we are saying we have never found any problems. But also advancing the fact that the people responsible for MREs cannot participate at the level of appointing the person also overseeing the appeals. That's where the issue around the separation of powers and the role of the MECs, that's what we are trying to emphasize there. They appoint the PREs. The TAT members are the people who have to deal with decisions based on whether the complainant has brought in a matter, or any other person has brought in a matter that would have been adjudicated by the MRE or the PRE, the priest. That needs to be adjudicated almost all over. We can take an example around supply chain. You can't serve at evaluation and also serve at adjudication. So the separation is basically that part. There is no harm in consultation with the MECs, but really we are wary of that factor that the same person who would have appointed a lower structure, it is like a court of first instance and a court of second instance. If you have the same people participating, whether in appointments or in the workings, but really the long and short answer is there is really no harm, except it's where you can find conflict. If the same person appoints the structure to adjudicate and the structure to adjudicate the appeal of the lower structure, that is where the challenge could be, according to us. And like I have said, we are 80 members. The tribunal is working, and we have not had complaints around those issues. The issues that are emerging there is whether people agree or disagree with the decision of the TT. But we've never had people challenging the appointment of the minister or any threat of threat that there should have been an involvement of the MECs. I'm not saying we can't correct it if it was wrong or if it was not done properly, but we are roughly something that the waters that are still and have not been shaken at all. Chair, then I've dealt with the issues around the parliamentary law advisors as we understand the the process. And then chairperson, I think there was also a suggestion that this issue around the consultation of MECs, we also are not violently opposed to the fact that it can be subjected to the committee's own legal opinion, and then we'll be guided by that. Chair, there are no excuse me, there are no real financial implications except for this additional support staff. And then should the committee further agrees to the insertion of the rail matters, we definitely need a resource or two on the rail expertise within the tribunal, because for now we are dealing with road transportation. There is a point that has just escaped me, but probably as a follow-up, I will definitely come to it, Honorable Chairperson. I don't know if the colleagues would want to add onto what I have just said. I think I've dealt with almost all of that.
I think you have. I've been taking notes and have been able to tick as you were responding. Before I go back to the members, can I check if Ms. Ngema and Ms. Arnold would like to make any comment? The decree part was on a lighter note. You may say you are fine or not, but I would like to give you that opportunity, please.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, honorable members. Good morning, colleagues from the departments. With regards to the removal of the MEC, and that is clause 2 of our bill. Clause 2, and I don't know if I should go in, I don't want to speak too much because we will still be doing a clause by clause deliberation. But I just want to touch on the purpose of section 4 and the amendment by clause 2. So section 4 of our Principal Act deals with the constitution of the tribunal. And Section 4.1 provides how many members the tribunal will consist with and how we will constitute this tribunal. Now, the bill seeks to remove the consultation with the MEC. And while there's no violation in the Constitution, but by removing the MEC, we're not violating the Constitution, we're not violating the National Land Transport Act, nor are we violating the Transport Appeal Tribunal Act. We should keep also in mind the purpose of we should keep in mind Chapter 3 of the Constitution. So Chapter 3 of the Constitution provides for cooperative government. And cooperative government is where the 3 spheres of government work together. So it's not so much about the separation of powers. So the inclusion of the MEC, it's not that they are going to impose on decisions which are made by the tribunal. The MEC, the consultation with the MEC is merely to get input into the appointment of the members of the tribunal. And I think that's where we can also make a distinction between in consultation and after consultation. As it reads now, it's after consultation, and after consultation is merely that, so after you consult with the MEC, a decision must be taken in good faith. You must hear what the MEC has to say. In consultation would be a stronger objective, and that is where there must be concurrence or a meeting of minds. Currently, we don't have in consultation, we have after consultation. Taking into account what I've said, the purpose of clause 2 and section 4, it's merely the appointment to the tribunal. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Arnold. I think that, in my view, addressed one or two things that the colleagues were raising. But again, remember, as the department says, this is your process, this is our process. They can only give that input as to that. But at the end of the day, remember also, we are seeking clarity. We will still have our own time again to deliberate further and take all these things and make a determination. So as we engage, let's just remember we still have an opportunity, but now we are just wanting to engage the department based on their responses on these two submissions. Having said that, is there any appetite from my colleagues for a second bite? Ms. Nyama, you are fine? Oh, please say, go ahead. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Chairperson. Greetings to the members and yourself and everyone in the house and on the online platform. The name is Phumelele Ngema. I am the parliamentary legal advisor that will be assisting in this process, as well as all the issues that the committee may have on the matter. Chairperson, I just want to deal with two issues that I feel maybe they were not substantially engaged on. And the other ones, I do believe that what Ms. Arnold has indicated, I am in full agreement with. So I'll start with the issue of process and the comment by the department that where they are happy that the changes be made, they are devolving that task to us. It is in line with the process and the rules of Parliament, Chairperson, because as they already pointed out, it is now the bill before Parliament and any changes and consideration must be made after the instruction and deliberations of the committee. So, Chairperson, in light of the processes, we received the submission or the presentation by the department very late, but we have considered it, though not fully. And so, Chairperson, as the processes will be proceeding, depending on the outcome of the meeting today, we will then be working on the process that will amend what is presently before the committee, which is the bill as was introduced by the executive. So the deliberations of today and the inclination of the committee is going to dictate and direct us whether we are effecting these amendments. So when we effect the amendments, myself and the state law advisor, Ms. Arnold, we will be working together to ensure that they will pass constitutional muster and consider all the other legal issues that may need to be considered. And when we do that presentation on the A list, we will then be indicating the legal issues and how we have sought to deal with them, if there are any, and how, if there are any matters that we will feel we can't make the changes for them for whatever reason, according to law, we will also indicate before the members. So the process basically, and a simple answer for the members that questioned the process and our involvement or consultation with the department, it hasn't taken place as yet, Chairperson, but it is within the process where we will be preparing the A list after being guided by the decision of the committee today and the inclination towards the proposed amendments by the department, as well as the consideration of all the submissions that have come before the committee. The second question, Chairperson, I want to address is on content now, not the process. It's the question that relates to the appeal processes of the tribunal. And I will not so much touch on what the railway safety bill is providing, because I haven't had a chance to deal with their provisions in detail. But what I understand, Chairperson, at this point is that our principal act, the Transport Appeal Tribunal Act, already sets out its own processes as to how the appeals are done. And that would be, as already pointed out, Section 3, which establishes the TAT. So in other words, it is a structure that is already in place. We are not going to be establishing it in light of these amendments. But my understanding as well, Chairperson, and the department may confirm this, is the issue once the appeal has been lodged. Who is it lodged with? Is it lodged with the DG, who must then convey the noted appeal that must be transferred for the work and the deliberations and decisions of the TAT. I think that's where maybe the confusion may be arising, as that when an appeal is lodged, who is the recipient, who receives the appeal, and therefore how does it get to the hands of the Transport Appeal Tribunal? Having said that, then Chairperson, sections 9 and section 12 and section 14 of our Principal Act is already outlining the process that once the appeal is noted and lodged with the appeal board, with the appeal tribunal, then they will engage on their own processes as per the provisions of the Act. So at least the Principal Act is setting out how the process must run once it has been started by a lodged appeal. Then the other question, Chairperson, was that involving the appointment of the members from the department who must assist the tribunal. I think what was meant by the department when they said they are already appointed in terms of the Public Service Act. The Public Service Act is the act that was promulgated in line with Section 195 of the Constitution, which basically sets out how the whole of government employs people within the departments. So what is being indicated there is that those people that will be delegated to assist the TAT in respect of their processes. And what I'm understanding is that they will come in when already it's at the end of the processes of the tribunal. They would have made a decision in respect of a lodged appeal. And if they want to monitor or find out why is our recommendation or our finding not followed on, that is when the stage of the investigation and the monitoring they are talking about. And so because they are a structure that even though it's in existence, it functions once there is a task, like there's an appeal lodged. And so once the appeal is lodged, they are gathered, and which takes me to the other question as well of setting the meetings. I think if my understanding practically is correct, that the appeal starts at the DG's office, and once it's there, then it's conveyed to the tribunal. That is why then maybe they are in their process of thinking through the provisions. That is why they are saying it is or they are proposing that it be the DG who determines when and how they sit, because the DG would know. This year, there are 5 appeals that are lodged, and therefore this is the complexity on them, and this is how much time it will be needed. I don't think it's so much usurping the power of the tribunal, but it's to ensure the practicalities from the first person that knows what has come in and possibly how long might the process take when the tribunal has started dealing with the appeal that has been lodged. So in that light, Chairperson, what I've said tries to answer 3 questions. The involvement of the DG in the setup of the meetings of the tribunal, as well as the involvement of the DG in assisting with the support staff that may be delegated to help set up the processes or make sure that the wheel functions properly in respect of the monitoring and the investigation stage as to whether their decisions will be followed on or not. So that is my understanding there, Chairperson. But as I said, I think with the direction of the committee, we are still going to be given time to consider all these issues. And as we prepare the A-list, we will then have done a thorough research and understanding that the law permits this, the law does not permit this. And then that is when we will give a considered view to the committee and make suggestions as to what can go into the bill that may result in a B version, which amends the bill as was introduced by the minister. That is all, Chairperson. I thank you.
Thank you very much. That was useful. But one area where you shortchanged us is your comment on the last proposal they made as it relates to the rail safety bill. You did make a comment that you have not really applied your mind to the rail safety bill, but the approach and the request for the committee to consider procedurally and otherwise is it sound without commenting on the detail of the request?
Thank you, Chairperson, for that question. We actually had a telephone conversation with my colleague, Ms. Arnold, yesterday, because I wasn't certain exactly whether this is merely just for information or for the committee to effect any changes. And me having not had a chance to read thoroughly the three provisions, which is 54, 55, and 56 of the railway safety bill, it's very difficult. And also that is why, Chairperson, I didn't venture and answer into Honorable Mr. Hansinger, I think, questions on the levels and how these three kinds of appeal structures would be dealing with the appeal. So, Chairperson, at this point, I am really not certain whether, in terms of TAT amendment bill, the changes that are done in that railway principal act are in any way going to affect us, because, as I said, our section 12 and section 14 is drafted in general and broad terms without specifying who brings an appeal to them, but it says any matter that is related to national land transport legislation. So for me, I think that is a broad provision which enables and captures that should there be any matter that's not attended anywhere when the appeal arises, the tribunal is still open to address that matter and handle it. But Chairperson, with your indulgence, I'll request that we deal fully with that issue in our next meeting. Thank you, Chair.
No, that is fair and it's accepted. Can I invite Advocate Almanel, who's always dedicated? You know, I can't believe that you are on your bed, booked off by a doctor, but you are still so committed. It's very appreciated. Good morning, Advocate.
Morning, Chairperson and members. Yes, I'm that passionate about transport that I can't get away from it, even if I'm in my bed with my leg resting, the injured leg. But Chair, I think just to assist members with the issues surrounding the railway safety bill, I hope members can see my screen if I'm allowed to share it. Because I just want to show members.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, so Chairperson, here we see the railway safety bill, clause 56. So Chair will see and members will see here that it allows for the aggrieved persons to submit an appeal in terms of section 12 of the Principal Act and do so with the Transport Appeal Tribunal. Then Chair, if we go to the Transport Appeal Tribunal, the Principal Act, section 12 is the decision on appeals. Members will see here the Principal Act specifically makes reference to the National Land Transport Act, as well as the Cross-Border Road Transport Act. I think what the department is envisaging in terms of the railway safety bill, if we do create this appeal leg for the rail matters, then there might just be a need to make an amendment in the Transport Appeal Tribunal Act, just to include the reference to the Railway Safety Act, because the National Land Transport Act and the Cross-Border Road Transport Act also have a similar provision that is similar to this one in the Railway Safety Bill. It just dictates and allows you then to do the appeal. The 3 levels that Mr. Hansinger mentioned is here in the Railway Safety Act, so it does give the members the first indication of railway regulated decisions, appeals going to the CEO, then to the Board Appeals Committee, and then after that, if they are still aggrieved, then it goes to the Transport Appeal Tribunal. Chair, and then in terms of the Public Service Act, the provisions that allow for transfer of staff to assist in other entities or other departments is section 15, which is the secondment or transfer of staff. So Chair, that provision is there, so it will allow for those. Chair, just on the railway safety bill, we will have to take guidance here from the legal advisors and state law advisors, because the railway safety bill, which is here before members, is not finalized yet. So it's going to be the concern of adding the reference in the bill to another piece of legislation that is not finalized yet. So we need to just be wary of that. It might mean that, yes, this proposal by the department to add the reference to the railway safety bill may need to wait for a future amendment to a further amendment to the Transport Appeal Tribunal once the railway safety bill has been finalized. Chair, I just wanted to point that out to members. I hope it assists in the discussion going forward. Thank you, Chair.
All right, thank you very, very much. I think that was very, very useful intervention. Once more, we wish you well, we miss you, although we still get your voice and advice. Colleagues, I think those comments of the state law advisor, parliamentary legal team there, and Advocate Nell do give us enough to consume and absorb for our intense, more deliberate discussion, where we go to clause by clause so that we can consider all these. I don't think, unless colleagues feel strongly to comment, but I think it's really food for us to package and go forward. But I see there is appetite. Can I get Mr. Mokonyama first before I come to you, Honorable Hunsinger? Is there anybody again on the colleagues? Then Honorable Mabena. So go ahead, DDG.
My apologies, Chair, for coming late after your nice summation. No, Chair, I think we also have learned a lot from the comments, and now I understand why the Honorable Chair referred to the team as his arsenal. Honorable Chair, I don't know, maybe this is what I would want to leave with the committee, not necessarily solicit response even from the legal people now. That if we refer to land transport, appeals on land transport, and amend the sections that talk to the specific act, because the acts change almost all the time, and then we provide a definition of what we mean by land transport appeals. What would be their appetite in terms of observing that? And I don't necessarily want a response now. We might have to deal with that at a technical level and then advise the committee. Thanks, Chair. But on the others have been sorted out. Even the ones that I've left out slightly, CEO board, the next level, and including the number of meetings. It depends on what will be on the table at the time. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Honorable Hunsinger.
Thank you, Chairperson. That seems like Mr. Makonyana wants Easter and Christmas at the same time. Seeing that we're dealing with two different issues and in support of his desire, an idea which I would also favor, having Christmas and Easter at the same time. Seriously, Chairperson, we need to also clarify how the synchronization can be effected. We're dealing with a procedural matter, and if through you, Chair, we could get direction on how the dilemma of having to change content in a particular bill which affects another bill, unfortunately, which is both under construction, how that can be synchronized and accommodated in the best possible manner in terms of giving us direction on procedure. So that we don't proceed with the one before the other, or that some form of synchronization can be supported. If we could get direction on that, certainly it would help a lot. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, colleague. Honorable Mabena.
No, thank you very much, Chairperson. I think Umama Arnold was literally betting in my corner. I think we should put it into context. The objective here is going to be almost on a once-off basis on the appointment. And we're not saying that that exclusively what MECs are saying, therefore the minister must take that as gospel and put those people there. No, it's just on a consultative basis that you've gotten input from these people and these people are there. We pray and hope that they will exercise due diligence and that they would not say, because this appointment was in consultation with the minister, therefore, if there's an issue that we have to resolve that involves the provinces, therefore we're going to bet in the corner of the, no. But all we are saying is that it is prudent for them to be there and to be assisted. So I think, but as you said, Chair, this remains our process, and I think we're going to push very hard that this issue, when we approve the thing, that is also there.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, colleagues. I think it is like that. It is our process. And in terms of synchronization, as my colleague is saying, I think it's something also that we will deliberate on. But if we just look at where we are now, obviously the rail safety bill will come after, or it will be concluded after this, the text, which is in front of us. So that technically is what should happen, unless something dramatic happens that changes that course. So then, as we deliberate, as we consider all these, and as Advocate Nelle said, those are the things, hence I was saying in my summary, I think we've got enough food for thought to package this thing when we deliberate. But for purposes of today, I think we have perfectly and deliberated on these issues. And I think we need to thank the department for those responses and engaging on us. They know these processes. We will certainly find time as the committee to deliberate on this and take it to its logical conclusion. So on that matter, DDG, not that you are dismissed, we are dismissing that first point on our agenda, and we will then go straight to the next agenda item, being the briefing by the department on the marine oil pollution, preparedness, response, and cooperation bill. Those who would want to be excused, the Mengema and Ms. Arnold, you are more than welcome. But because we have not been with you in a long time, we thought we will just be with us, you know. But we appreciate that there are many other pressing issues. But yes, you may be excused if you so wish. Yeah. Acting DDG, I hand over to you on this second one to introduce it or direct in the way you'd like to end your team.
Thank you.
Acting DDG. You said this acting business, sorry.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. Wouldn't mind to be acting DDG Maritime this time around. Honorable Chair, without wasting the committee's time, and I don't will take us through the MAPOL bill. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Acting DG and Acting DDG Maritime. Because our DDG has traveled with the Deputy Minister to witness the graduation ceremony at the World Maritime Organization. Without any waste of time, thank you very much, Chair, and it's very good and nice to be here after a long time, and we are delighted to have joined with you here. The matters that we are going to be dealing with in this presentation relate to the Oil Pollution Preparedness and Response Bill, which is before yourselves. And we would then take you through the matters as reflected in that slide. I must as well indicate that we have just also provided some text which we have extracted from the bill, which would help clarify matters. So these are not new matters that we've included in the presentation. And when I arrive at those matters, I will make such a reflection. Now, this slide is a very important slide because it shows us the progress we have made in delivering what government regards as its oil pollution strategy. So oil pollution strategy of the Republic rests on those 5 pillars. Where the color reflects green shows is an achievement that Parliament has helped us to win. And where it shows amber, yellow, it means it's work in progress. You are already dealing with these matters, which therefore reflect that progress and encouragement to government to press on. Because 2030 is a date for maritime transport. South Africa must be an international maritime center by 2030. So part of being a maritime transport center means we must have accomplished the full layout of that strategy. On my right of that strategy, you have marine pollution prevention. So the aim of the strategy is firstly to prevent, so that there is no oil spill. All the operators in the maritime space don't spill any oil and there are no risks and so forth. Now, in the event that there are those that have caused a spill, then there are liability that is attached to their actions. And in that case, then we then have, in keeping with the Civil Liability Convention of 1992, Parliament delivered the Merchant Shipping Civil Liability Convention Act 25 of 2013. That helped us a lot because those that polluted were held responsible and liable. Now, also as a country, because of the huge financial implications for any spill, we are parties to the International Oil Pollution Compensation Fund. And thanks to Parliament again for adopting and making the Merchant Shipping International Oil Pollution Compensation Fund Act 35 of 2013. That helped us to be able to have those that handle oil products to contribute to the IOPC funds, which is resident in the United Kingdom. Now, when there is a spill, we need to organize and mobilize all the necessary resources to respond to the spill. So that response then is provided under the OPRC Convention 1990, to which the Republic is party. But being a party is not enough. We have to then make in our own in the country. And hence then we brought the Preparedness and Response and Cooperation Bill, which is before yourself. So which I'll take you through now. Then the other work that is already under your safe care relates to liability for oil pollution by bunkers. And that's the ratification of the Bunkers Convention of 2001. So all of these matters are the strategy. I will not talk on the ballast water management, which is also another critical element, still hopefully destined for this House in the near future. Now, the bill then that is before you, today we'll just explain as to what are we trying to achieve with it. The bill provides for the processes to regulate, manage the preparedness and response to major marine oil pollution incidents at national level as well as cooperation with other countries, noting that maritime transport is international in nature. Also, the cooperation itself covers the development of contingency plans, the research, training, and exercise program to make those that must respond ready to respond to incidents. Now, this slide explains why we have to have this mechanism. It's because of our location, in that there's a lot of marine traffic along the South Africa coast, noting that we straddle between three oceans: the Southern Ocean, Atlantic, and the Indian Ocean. And the slide also reflects the traffic, ship traffic along our coast, and therefore this demonstrates the risk that the Republic is facing, as most of those vessels they carry oil and other pollutants that are a threat to our coast. Now, being a party to OPR or to this convention, then with the OPRC, firstly, the OPRC provides for those matters the development of contingency plans, equipment stock, research and development initiative, training and exercise programs, and appropriate spill notification procedures for international shipping. So that's the package of the convention itself. Now, having ratified it, then it does not then immediately deliver us the capabilities that we need in order to give effect and meaning to it. So the first step is then to domesticate it, make it law, so that we as a republic can then discharge the responsibilities that come with being a party to the convention. So we don't have legislation that deals with this particular matter, as we have seen in the strategy, marine pollution strategy that we have displayed. So also we do our policies, like the comprehensive maritime transport policy says we need to have an effective mechanism that would prepare the state to be able to respond to these matters. Now, the bill then before you has the following objectives: is to incorporate this treaty into law and to reduce and control the pollution of marine environment by all from ships, offshore installations, seaports, and oil handling facilities. Now, this slide you would not have, but it's important, it's extracted from the bill itself, so it's not new text. We're just highlighting that these are the kind of spills that are covered by the bill. It's all spills or possible spills of oil from any or all sources that may pollute or threaten to pollute South African waters, coastal aquatic resources, or coastlines. So anything that would pose as a threat to do these matters is covered by the bill. And the standard text also shows the marine geographic space that is covered by the bill, as reflected in that thick paragraph. So we have to then provide for the safe, effective, and efficient management and deployment of resources in response to and cooperation and control of all spills on any other pollutant from ships or in other sources within South African waters, or which pollute or threaten to pollute our waters, to provide for the effective cooperation with other neighboring states in case that spill extends to our neighboring countries. This slide as well just extracts what is very important: the risk, what the bill brings, and that's the risk assessment that needs to be conducted on enactment of the bill. And this is 2 years after the bill has become law. So it obligates the authority to, on instruction of the Director General of the department, to conduct the risk assessment, but also for those that handle oil products to as well conduct their risk assessment. So all of that contributes in what the bill requires to have the National Oil Contingency Plan. So in the contingency plan, that's where the details as to how, who, will respond to an incident is covered as detailed in the bill. Also, the bill creates what is called the National Marine Oil Pollution Preparedness, Response and Cooperation Incident Management Organization, which for the information of the members, this structure now has been established on an interim basis as a way to build up to when it is provided for by laws. You've got all these agencies that are cooperating in the interim outside the legislation to prepare for a possibility of an incident. Now, I would like to also then highlight key acts that we are proposing be amended, because these deliver what is critical, more especially for the South African Maritime Safety Authority, because the role that they would be playing is critical. Firstly, when we were drafting the bill, we realized that in the SAMSA objects, as an authority, they are not empowered to prepare and respond to an oil pollution incident. And there's a history to this. The history is that it's always been understood that the Department of Fisheries and Environment had the mandate of responding to a spill. But the department received communication from that department to the effect that they have pulled out from offering that function. So that function is coming back to where it used to be once upon a time, and it was with the Department of Transport. Now, with the creation of SAMSA, SAMSA will therefore play a critical role in the delivery of that. So that has now caused us to, through this bill, amend the SAMSA Act to include the funding of preparing and responding to an incident. That's the first treatment, to empower the SAMSA. The second part of that of the amendment we're proposing on the Maritime Safety Authority Act is to provide in section 38 of that act the renaming and repurposing of the Maritime Fund, which already exists, which was resourced through the fines and other charges that SAMSA imposed on those that caused problems in the marine environment. So the repurposing is to dedicate that fund to be the Marine Pollution Preparedness and Response Fund, because to this date, there are no specific resources that are set for preparedness and response. Meaning that when there is a marine environment disaster, we have to scratch around to see where we can get the money. But through this mechanism, they repurposed the Maritime Fund to be the Marine Pollution Preparedness and Response Fund, would then close this gap and reduce the risk that the Republic was facing. In terms of the resourcing of the fund, so it's the existing SAMSA levies, which are provided for by the SAMSA Levies Act, but also we've broadened the net a little bit to include the seaports, the ports. Ports as well players in the management of reducing the exposure on oil pollution. So we would as well then be expecting them to contribute towards this effort of the Republic having the necessary funding and resources to respond to a spill. But also those that may be exploring for oil along a coast or handle oil products would as well be expected to make a contribution to the marine pollution preparedness and response. It's just being responsible, because if we don't prepare for that, then who's going to cover? And therefore it reduces the risk. So the resources therefore would be just to deal with preparedness and the response to combat the pollution marine environment. But also we have to correspond with the new function that SAMSA has is to then give SAMSA the tools of trade. They have appeared before your committee in the past where they indicated that they had challenges with the resources and as well as the assets that are required for them to undertake their functions. Because with the pulling out of our sister department from this particular function, that exposes us, and hence we have therefore a responsibility to empower SAMSA, firstly, to own assets in the form of marine and air surveillance and patrol crafts required for SAMSA to execute its objectives. And this we do by amending Section 37 as provided for in the bill. So this just as a reminder, the last slide, to show that with the all Pollution Preparedness and Response Bill, we are making progress if we have this as part of what we have achieved in the delivery of the pollution strategy. So we put it to the members for your attention. Thank you very much, Chairperson, and thank you, Acting DG, for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. That was Kort and Bonda, straight to the point. Colleagues, there it is. This is the first time we are introduced to this. I don't know if you've got any preliminary questions, comments. I will take hands. The first one on this matter will be Honorable Sitole. The second one will be Honorable Mabena. The third one will be Honorable Hunsinger. Any takers on virtual? Honorable Shabangu will be after Honorable Hunsinger. In that order, colleagues, Honorable Sitole.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson, and thank you to the presenter. This actually is an eye-opener for us. But I'm trying to check, Chairperson, on their presentation, they says they don't have a system and mechanism. Prepare and plan for a rapid response to accident as they occurred. I'm worried, Chairperson, because if you see the country is in a crisis because of things that are happening. So if they say they don't have any system, do they have a mechanism now that they are now trying to before any bill that now they are going to have a system that is going to help the country because the country is in a crisis stage. So I'm trying to check that one, Chairperson, and the other one, Chairperson, is that one. The RTI. Did they have any consultation with other department when it's come to this pollution issue? Thank you very much, Honorable Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Stolle. Honorable Mabena.
Thank you very much, President. Okay, I think mine is also very, very, very short, slide 11. In terms of the Marine Pollution and Preparedness and Response Fund, I think my only concern is in terms of the way that the fund, you envisage the fund to be funded. For me, I don't know, but you can assist me. It seems a bit chaotic in terms of how it will be funded. Because here you're saying that we will fund it from levies that will be imposed, and then also there's a section which speaks about penalties, fines, and forfeiture. And here, now my question is, what? for the first part of the question, then is what then happens if everyone behaves? Everyone is on their best behavior. All the vessels that come in, no one contravenes anything. Everyone conducts themselves the way they're supposed to conduct themselves in the ports. They obey the laws of the country, everything else. Then therefore, won't this have a negative impact in terms of you having enough funds within the pool of the different revenue streams that you want to put into the fund in this current form? And then the other issue is in terms of how the money will then be purposed. You are saying that you're going to be using it for prevention, preparedness, and all of these things. We've had a situation with the mining rehabilitation and reclamation and the reclamation funds, which it's funds which are put in a pool for mining companies to when they withdraw from the mining operations, therefore that they must rehabilitate that site for the community and everything else. Most of the time, those funds are not used for what they're supposed to be used for. And sometimes those funds are also misappropriated. Now, if maybe you can assist in terms of how are you going to use the funds? You're saying that you're going to be using them for prevention and preparedness, but if maybe you can just highlight in terms of what is it exactly that you're going to be doing in terms of all of this, and how will that then be done going forward? I think, Chair, as I said, mine was going to be very, very, very short.
Thank you very much. Honorable Hunsinger.
Thank you, Chairperson, and thank you for the presentation. Most certainly, this is a piece of legislation which we should consider very seriously, given the responsibility that we have of close to 2,850 kilometers of coastline that certainly needs to be protected. I think we must also distinguish very clearly about a management towards being prepared versus being prepared. And I think that is part of the developmental stage, in that the intention here is to put legislation in place in order to get prepared. Of course, most certainly it appears that we are not prepared. Chairperson, my approach is a question of whether anything was considered in this legislation and the aspiration to create a fund in order to become prepared, whether any consideration was given to the different access zones that we have. And I'm referring particularly to the territorial waters, which is the 12 nautical miles or 22 kilometers that we have, the economic zone, and then thirdly, the extended continental shelf zone. Each of those require a particular access. And it is beneficial to vessels, given the geographical location that we have, that they pass as close as possible in our territorial waters in order to have the shortest route. Why don't we consider a fee, given that there is a particular risk and a particular higher exposure to our marine area, and that we generate fees from that access and the benefit which vessels might have, instead of an approach where we simply charge and levy and fine. And immediately when any idea around fines and levies come to mind, the railway safety regulator and their role in relation to rail comes to the fore. Because in my view, the existence of the railway safety regulator has not contributed to safer railway. Instead, it has contributed to a richer entity, being the railway safety regulator, because all the fines and levies have ended up with a railway safety regulator instead of making rail safer. And we can't have a inflated fund, which at the end still allows vessels to increase the risk and the exposure to our coastline. So we should rather design a situation where the use and where entrance into the higher risk area of our coastline, being the territorial waters, which would then also bring responsibility directly to us, opposed to other bodies that carry responsibility in other nautical zones, where we would have to then clear the mess. That we rather design it in a way that it would favor us against the benefit which vessels might have, instead of having approach of fines. And there's also the whole economic thing of losing the competitive edge, because there are other options as well. Nobody only has to pass our coastline. There certainly are other options. So it is therefore also important to consider the competitive edge around economic viability. So the question then, Chairperson, is whether any consideration has been given to that line of thinking in terms of generating revenue for this envisaged fund. But certainly there is support for a fund like this and the establishment of such a legislation. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Nsinga. Honorable Shabangu.
Thank you, Chair. Let me also accept the presentation done by the Marine Pollution. My question would be, what are the consequences of the ship or transport on the oceans that persistently does not comply with the laws relating to the oil pollution or spillage? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Shabangu. Over to you, departments, whoever will be responding, please feel free to.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. On this one, I'll definitely do less, and then allow Mr. Ntuli to do more, just so that we share. Chair, on the consultation of obviously, us coming here meant that within government and sister departments and clusters and cabinet, we have consulted extensively. So that part has been dealt with on our part, and including the stakeholders that we work with, Chair. I think the issue around how do you then deal with it looks like it's chaotic in the manner in which you deal with the issue of fund and the sources and related issues. I want to believe that Chair, at an X level, we definitely always want to be at high level. But when you deal with regulations and you start to implement and practicalize issues, practice issues, you then are able to deal with the specifics. But I'm sure Mr. Ntuli can provide a number of examples around that. The reason we've come to Parliament is basically exactly that the response currently is minimal, not in the way that we want it to be. SAMSA does provide marine safety, but not to the level of also dealing with the no-brainer issues as pronounced by the IMO through conventions. So one, we are closing the gap on the past conversions, but also to making room for future conversions so that we don't always come to Parliament. This bill seeks to do exactly that at the level of the management. I think like in other funds, the manner in which we manage and try to prevent misuse. But we have noted and we are noting this issue around chasing revenue vis-a-vis ensuring safety issues. I think we're noting that, and I'm sure that the idea here is to ensure one safety, but also anti-pollution in the waters, more than also chasing revenue. And like we do in many other issues, there's always been an issue around traffic officers not collecting enough money. We're saying, what if the motorists have behaved in that particular period? So it's always that fine balance. The issue is safety more than revenue enhancement. Thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, indeed. I think those are the approaches that have been adopted. But just to as well add my voice to clarify some of the matters, I think Honourable Member Sitole raised the concern that so there's nothing. No, that's not the case. It's just that the OPRC creates a back-term mechanism that will be binding, and because we are parties to that convention, the only way that we can benefit from what it provides is for us to make it domestic law. At the moment, there is a mechanism as we have indicated, but it's not tight-proof as we would want it to be. So with the OPRC, would even much better and be prepared better. As I've also indicated that the forum that has already been created ahead of the legislation has all the stakeholders that are required to respond to an emergency if it occurs. South Africa is one of the countries that has a better way of coordinating, I think, from the lessons of disaster management. So there are elements that we always activate in cases where there are such incidents. But under the circumstances, the benefits that come with the OPRC convention are much greater and would help us achieve our ultimate goal of being an international maritime center in the continent. The consultations, yes, I think we went out this bill, we've been working on it for the past 2 years, and we have consulted quite widely, and this bill also had a lot of inputs that came through IMO, the International Maritime Organization, as well assisted us in the process of it. So there's been a very good consultation from government that we are now have reached this stage. Honorable Mabena raised the issue of funding. If during peace times do you not budget for war that may come, you don't, but you just make sure that you prepare and you put your ducks on the road. Notice that the amendments that we are introducing to SAMSA, for instance, for the fact that SAMSA does not have any tools of trade at the moment. They don't have any surveillance equipment. They don't have patrol boats. They don't have anything as a tool other than the training vessel, which again is aged in itself. So it is, with this legislation, we are empowering SAMSA to have the function of as well owning assets that would help to prevent and be able to respond to the incident. So the repurposing of the fund, well, the fund already exists, by the way. So it's not that we're creating a new fund, but it would exist in the SAMSA Act. So what we are doing, we're just broadening the basket for collection and there is the huge resources that we would collect from seaports, from the ports themselves, not new money, from the existing allocation that we can draw to contribute towards empowering SAMSA to be able to undertake the function that is now added to them, because the function of preparedness response was not in their original legislation. So you can't therefore give them a new function, but you don't then empower them with resources to execute it. And that's why we would really request the Parliament to assist us here. Yes, in terms of ensuring that whatever is raised goes towards the intended purpose. So as lawmakers, you'd help us make it very tight such that it would deliver exactly what you'd want. If we have to provide for an annual report of how the funding has been dispersed, I think that would be something that would be provided. And Honorable Hansinger raised the issue of the risk, I think the risk assessment, and how can we leverage on the maritime zones that we have by attracting funding through those mechanisms. Well, it's a very thin line, because with us being parties to the Law of the Sea Convention, the issues of innocent passage, so we're very careful in not imposing undue taxes there. But the good news is that the risk assessment that the bill would provide would make all that assessment in terms of the risk profile of the marine region itself, and would therefore also identify the high risk of marine pollution in certain parts, and through the mechanism of the Marine Zone Act, which this Parliament has made, would then be able to identify those matters that must either be protected from these ships that carry heavy oil. So there are marine special zones that we can impose, and so this assessment, the risk assessment, would present to us all those matters, and so we're able to plan accordingly. Then the last issue raised by Honorable Shabangu relates to the persistent violators and how we deal with how do we manage them. I think the issue is that we've got South Africa as part of two port state control regimes. We are part of the Indian Ocean Memorandum of Understanding on Port State Control, and we also are parties to the Abuja Memorandum of Cooperation on Port State Control. How do we benefit from this? We benefit by doing the profiling. So we already have a register of all the vessels that traverse our waters, and those that have been found and they are persistent polluters, they are tracked down. South Africa is one of the is regarded as the ship arrest capital of the world. Some of it works against us, but we can follow the ship, and we've got in our legislation the associated ship provisions, which means that if we don't catch the ship of a polluter, we can attach another one related to it. So if it's one company comes along, pollutes, and then that ship escapes, we would have a mechanism of tracking and be able to attach the sister ship of the same company. So there, in terms of ship arrest, we've got very, very good numbers to showcase that we are able to track down and be able to deal with the persistent violators. So I think those are the matters, and indeed this is this is encouraging to hear from the members that this is regarded as one of the critical pieces of legislation to us. It helps us to achieve that strategy that I showed in the first slide, that if by 2030 we must become the International Maritime Center, then we cannot achieve that without fully implementing that strategy. And next year, IMO's World Maritime Day Parallel 11, and thank you for the members who managed to attend the event in Durban, is MARPOL at 50. MARPOL is 50 years old in 2023, and South Africa would have to as well demonstrate that we are making inroad. And we're grateful on the progress on the Marine Pollution Amendment Bill, and this as well is, is a package, and the nation is waiting for this. Chair, thank you very much. I'm sorry to take long. Thank you, Teacher.
Which nation? Thank you, Mr. Dooley. Colleagues, there it is. I don't know if you have still an appetite. So while you are thinking, if you have an appetite, I know it's very, very early stages. As my colleague, Honorable Hunsinger, will always say, it's very, very early stages. But Ms. Gangan, you are more than welcome if you want to contribute here at this very, very early stage, because it might help in the future. So anytime, please indicate. While I recognize Honorable Mabena, anybody else who has got, then there is also Honorable Hunsinger. Anybody else? Honorable Shabangu, Ushap Modi Tabing. All right. Honorable Mabena, then Honorable Hunsinger.
Thanks, Chair. I think, as you say, in these early stages, but I think maybe something that maybe we can note going forward is perhaps, the objective of the committee is that we try to create an environment where it's not an us and them, that we are all working in the same space for the greater good of the sector and making sure that we can assist each other. And the objective is not that we want to catch someone out, but sometimes when we ask these questions, it's just merely for clarity seeking objectives, but also to try and see how best can we position legislation that can respond better to the needs of the people out there. So the issue now would be, if we were to create an accounting and monitoring mechanism for the fund itself, where will that be located? Would it be prudent for us, because this is the early stage of the bill, would it be prudent for us that we locate it within the SAMSA annual report, where we then say it would be that they will report there, that when SAMSA does an annual report, then they will put the financials of and the operations of the fund there, and then they can somehow account in terms of what they have done in the previous financial year and how they were able to source some of the funding. And then also in terms of the grants from the department, I see here that there's no mention of any. So then I would then assume that there's no grant which is forthcoming from the department in as far as to assist, in as far as this is concerned. But I think maybe this, my last comment is reserved for us, housekeeping matters and issues here, especially for you as the leader of our committee. The fact that SAMSA has no tools of trade is a bit of a shame, Chair. I think my jaw dropped to say that even the training vessel, you say that it has aged, it has almost reached its sell-by date. So therefore, that means we are really at the mercy of, of pirates and whatever issues are there. Then, Chair, perhaps we should push from our side, from the legislature side, to try and see if maybe we cannot mobilized departments or even treasury, for instance, to come in and assist. Because now you cannot have a situation where we're going to be praying and hoping that the levies that we charge, the penalties and whatnot, we're only going to be using that fund only to try and capacitate SAMSA and making sure that they have the necessary tools of trade for them to provide the service. Wouldn't then it be to say we need to also rope in treasury as well to contribute something there where we can say there's some sort of consistent funding and grants that will ensure that we'll go into that space, that the sustainability, but also we can ensure the safety and the and the operations of SAMSA, but also maybe we need to go and do an oversight there ourselves, go and see for ourselves that even that aged training vessel there in terms of its efficiency, is it still able to do what it's supposed to do in its current form now? Because it doesn't make any sense. But I think from the committee side, of things. Perhaps that's something that we can consider in the many oversights that we are planning, that we can go and see for ourselves and then come back, write a very strong motivation, perhaps in collaboration with the department, the branch that deals with the maritime, and also the to National Treasury to assist, because that will help a great deal to make sure that that space is covered. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mabena. I think I liked what you were saying when you talk about treasury, because all of these people's budgets in this department come to you for approval. And you've got a right to reduce a budget and redirect a budget. So I think that's exactly what you are suggesting. So it's well noted. Honorable Onsinga.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, I want to propose that we get some clarity on exactly what the international conventions say around us protecting our territorial waters, particularly around the thinking of access or limited access or access at a particular price in those three categories. Because that could also direct our thinking going forward. And if we could get clarity around that, it would certainly open up new opportunities, perhaps, but then also work in our favor since we are talking about oil pollution here and we have very sensitive territorial waters, and it might just be good to have a bypass oil tanker vessel free territorial approach to this. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Honsinga. Honorable Ramadwa.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Chairperson, I want to second the submission by Honorable Mabena. And also to be clarified, what do they mean by tool of trades? Which are tool of trades that they don't have? I'm seconding that we must do oversight and also interact with the treasury or yes, so that they can get funds after we know what are those tool of trades that they want and we have done oversight. Thank you, Chairperson.
I hope I'm not hearing colleagues wanting to go to Antarctica. Just on a lighter note, Madam Gonyama and the team, those were really just comments, which you are more than welcome to comment on the comments. But let me check, Ms. Gangan, if there is no preliminary observation or point in limino that is here.
I don't think these points in limine at the moment, but I just thought it's important that with regards to the.
I don't know if your mic is on. I'm battling to hear you.
Is that better?
Yes, that's it. You've learned something from politicians today. Thank you.
Noted, Chair. Thank you, and thank you. I think that the department, together with the legal team, would really have to look at the wording regarding the funding and how best to keep it as tight as possible. You know, with funding, there's always the possibility that the money just seems to find feet. And so, and especially just given the importance of this bill and what it seeks to achieve, and given, which is news to me, how we are lacking so severely in this particular area, I think we really have to look at how best we can protect the funding when we redirect that funding. And we need to look at penalty clauses and all sorts of ways to just ensure that we can redirect and keep that funding for what it is intended. And that's all I have to add for the moment, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any last parting short comments, Tatem Konyama and the team?
Chair, Honorable Chair, thank you very much, and thanks to the honorable members. Chair, one, it is encouraging to hear that we might get some assistance from Parliament in terms of appropriations. But Chair, also, Chair, we take the point that maybe we just need to tighten the issues around accountability, more especially with regard to the fund. We will look into that and then make sure that it is tight. Chair, yes, we came here and we acknowledge that we do not have enough assets. Chair, that does not mean that we are not doing anything. Chair, our waters are very clean. Chair, we are able to locate the polluters. Chair, as we sit here, we know how many ships are passing through. So those capabilities are there, but we are just saying we are not where we are supposed to be, because our aim is to, at least in the continent, be the maritime center of Africa and be the leader. But a lot of work is happening, as you might know and hear and read about what we do to the polluters out there. The bill is just to make sure that we now have a foolproof legal instrument to even take that to the high level. Thanks, Chairperson.
Yeah. I think it's well summarized, and there is evidence and report that would show the challenges with assets and other things, which I'm sure we will make available as we progress. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much. You know, there are people who are behind you, Tatem Konyama, that I don't think it will be fair to them to leave the committee without even greeting, and say who they are. So let each and every one of them just greet the committee and say who they are.
Chair will be equally worried to justify the expenditure. With your permission, we can just from the other end.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Tomavin Matala from the Department of Transport. I am within the Maritime Branch. Thank you.
Good day, Chair and honorable members. You're speaking to Sello Mukuviane from Legal Services Legislation.
Good day, Chair and honorable members. My name is Malik Ponolo Katsiri. I'm the Director Legislation.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, honorable members. I'm Habu Majani from the Office of the Director General.
Good morning, Chair, and good morning, honorable. My name is
I think that name colleagues know very much.
Good morning. My name is Hashmudal. I work for Transport
Branch in the TT Directorate. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. I think not only will it justify your expenditure at DDG, but they'll be able to be told at home that we saw you on TV, you're in Parliament, Colleagues, thank you very much. I think it is our desire to take maritime more seriously than we have been. And I think our pulling forward some of these pieces of legislation is a demonstration of that. I'm not saying we have not been taking it seriously, but I think other than things like road traffic crashes and things that happen in front of us every day, there is a propensity to more talk about those more quicker than maritime. So be assured that as a committee we'll do our level best to support yourselves in the space of maritime wherever we can. And I think colleagues might just have forgotten, because time flies, that we were able at maritime offices right here in the city to see boats or ships being plotted. There is one there, there is one there. And I think that's the capacity or the capability that is there now. But as you are saying, team transport, that it's really to take it to a next level and not accept where we are. As a country, we should be doing much, much better. So maybe as an in-house thing, we might consider, because fortunately, the offices that I think are more busier are the ones in Cape Town of SAMSA. Maybe we should be able to find space when we are around here to go back there, now that we have some information of things that we might not have known then, to engage with them further. At least they are here. There is no ocean in Hatfield, Pretoria, that you'll find anything there. The ocean is here and the maritime issues are right here. Colleagues, I am of the view that I'm getting the sense that we are comfortable that we process our motion of desirability on the Marine Oil Pollution Preparedness, Response and Cooperation Bill. Can I take it that way, and can I read it therefore for the record? Yes, Honorable Hussein.
Chairperson, I move that we accept the motion of desirability as presented and screened currently, with the 3 bullet points included as detailed to the heading.
Thank you very much. Again, Honorable Ramadua.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. I second the move by Honorable Hunsinger.
Thank you very much, colleagues. That then takes us to the next level. We will find space where we will engage on this and maybe, and take the next processes. So I think that takes us past our second agenda item. What is left really, colleagues, is our consideration and adoption of minutes. I think it was the 25th. Let me just get there. Yes, those were the 25th of October, which were sent to us, where we were discussing, this marine is too much, Mr. Nduli here, written submissions on the marine pollution, prevention of pollution from ships amendment bill. We also remember we met people who came to present to us on APRAV and SABRATA. Those were the minutes on that day. And I'm sure colleagues have received them and read them. Honorable McDonald.
Chairperson, I move for the adoption of the minutes of the 25th of October. Chairperson.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that motion? Honorable Ramadua.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. I second Honorable McDonald. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The meeting of the 25th of October minutes are duly adopted and seconded. I don't know if there are any announcements, Ms. Carol, sir, that we need to note.
Chairperson, I don't know if you want to inform the committee about the approval by a House Chair and the Chief Whip for the committee to start with the hearings on the railway safety bill in the provinces.
Yes, we can do that. Just go through it. Yeah.
House Chair and Chief Whip approved the application. There was a directive, however, that since the parliamentary program framework has not been adopted yet, that is expected towards the end of November, that the committee first proceed with the hearings that it can conclude in the fourth term. So from now up to 4 December, which will include the Limpopo, Mpumalanga, as well as the Gauteng provinces. And once the framework is available, that the committee then can plan the rest of the hearings until it concludes all the 9 provinces. Ms. Mshlati has started to call members about the availability. We will be doing so for every phase that the committee will be going through so that we can at least have a fair amount or number of members who will be attending the hearings. Since the directive from House Chair and Chief Whip was that we consider the parliamentary framework, members will know that in the pre-election years, sometimes the constituency break gets longer and the terms get shorter. So we will have to look closely at how that program, especially the innate program, can change as the House has to sit maybe longer to process legislation, because that might impact on the dates of the hearing. So for now, what we can say is, members, the dates that is in the program that was approved by members are subject to change. We will consider the framework, we will consider the NA program and advise the acting chair accordingly. And there will need to be a level of flexibility around that. What I've also informed the acting chair was there is now a high probability of the hearings being extended beyond our initial conclusion date of March. So that is something to also be aware of, but we will advise the chair, we will advise the committee accordingly.
Thank you very much, colleagues. I wanted to check with colleagues, seeing that we are moving more towards our physical meetings, if 9 o'clock is still comfortable to start the meetings. Remember, 9 o'clock came in at a later stage. I wanted to check with colleagues if we are still fine with 9 o'clock. Or would we rather move to 10 o'clock? Looks like everybody's fine. Yes, Honorable Mohammed.
I think if we're going to use now that I think let's move to 10 because of the parliamentary passes. One, they're very slow and there's too much traffic. But now that we are the only ones that are literally meeting, the transport issue is a bit
manageable.
It's manageable now. It's easier. But as and when everything moves back, most of the time, if we're going to be doing 9 with the parliamentary passes, we are not going to be on time, and we are trying to avoid that.
So there is a middle ground. Yes, Honorable Ramadan.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Chairperson, my view is that let us not say 9 or 10, depend on the agenda of the day. Because at 2 o'clock, there is a sitting. And now, if we're having a long agenda, we are not going to do justice to the agenda of that day. So at least we can be informed whether it will be 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock. I think we need to agree on that. Thank you.
All right, you colleagues are deepening my crisis. The crisis, not mine, it's fine. I thought we'll just open that window, but it looks like there's consensus that 9 o'clock is still okay. And it's summer, so at least we can move on. If anything, we will see how we adjust. Obviously, yeah. So, but I think, colleagues, that's brings us to the end of our agenda for today. Once more, I thank the department for coming here and being with us and take us through these things. They are very, very important. To some people, it might look like, really, is that all we did? But this is what we do. And it's always better to have that interaction with yourselves. And we are able also that you can use this opportunity to lobby us, and we are on certain issues. That's why you have members here, you know. So when you leave here, don't just rush. You see that member had these specific questions, go to them and try and speak to them in the ear, which you won't be able to do when you're on virtual. But thank you once more. We appreciate everything. We might sound harsh at times, but it's in the interest of getting the best out of you. We know you are trying your level best, and we are here to support you to the best that we can. To the support team, advocate at home, we wish you well, speedy recovery. I'm sure you will be back very soon. And everybody who has connected and has been part of us, thank you so much. The meeting stands adjourned. Till next week, Tuesday, the 8th. Thank you, colleagues.